Hello and welcome to the latest Capital and Kayfabe. I am your co-host JP John Podge with the two-man power trip. Of course, joining me is the political pundit, the former campaign manager, the author, the historian, Mr. Jack Hunter. Jack, welcome in. How you doing?
Great to be with you today. I think we got a lot to talk about.
Man, do we? And I feel like we got to start it off perhaps a little hot here and start it off with the State of the Union. What were your takeaways? What did you think about this? And how do you think Trump came off with possibly the longest State of the Union of all time?
Yeah, it was the longest of all time. Reports going in said it was going to be 2+ hours. It was just right at about 2 hours, but still the longest ever. I think one of the shortest ever might have been Bill Clinton with like under 90 minutes or something. I don't know. I voted for Trump, just to put that out there, in 2024 for a number of reasons. In his last State of the Union, he was talking about all the great things Doge was going to do. He's going to bring the Ukraine-Russia war to an end and all this other stuff. None of what he discussed in that first State of the Union has happened, not a bit of it. And in this one, he's telling Americans, including people who voted for him, that the economy is great, that inflation's down. That's not the reality I see in polling. That's not reality I see in reality. I see families worried about the price of groceries and healthcare and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, Biden went into his last State of the Union saying inflation wasn't a thing and everything was hunky-dory. And you saw what happened to the Democratic Party in the 2024 election. Well, we got midterms coming up. I felt like Donald Trump was kind of lying to people's faces. And I don't think he's intentionally lying. I think he's in such a bubble that yes men around him tell him what he wants to hear. And he's telling an American public that has a completely different economic reality, stuff that just isn't true. And that's what he led with. Knew he needed to lead with it. Do you agree with that at all? That was my feel on the first part, at least, of his State of the Union.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Just kind of interesting, obviously, reaction from the Democrats within the State of the Union. You know, within the hall there was kind of a interesting reaction, obviously predictable, but still it was like a weird reaction, of course.
Yeah, and look, any State of the Union, if the president is Democrat or Republican, the other side sits down most of the time and blah, blah, blah. But like when the Democrats didn't stand up for the mother whose child was killed by an illegal alien who was crying, that's kind of not right. Like I can't get with that. Some of the Presidential Medal of Freedom winners, Purple Hearts, all that stuff. Like some were not standing for that. You stand for that. That goes above Republican and Democrat. This was definitely pro wrestling, the entire State of the Union, as every modern State of the Union address is. Remember somebody is a congressman from South Carolina, Joe Wilson, yelling, "You lie," to Barack Obama at that State of the Union. Many people might remember that. It's wrestling. It's professional wrestling. As an anti-war conservative, I wanted to see how he couched. You know, those of us who are really disappointed, we voted for Trump because he promised to end endless wars and not do regime change wars. And now he basically talks like half the time, saying he's going to take out Iran. I wanted to see how he couched that within his State of the Union address. It was all the way at the end of the speech. And he basically said, I'm a tough guy. I prefer diplomacy, but if they won't give me that, you know, I'm not going to let them have a nuke, which Benjamin Netanyahu and his friends have been saying they're on the edge of getting a nuke for the last 35 years. So I found that curious that he wanted to bury it at the end after a lot of people had turned off. You know, most people don't watch the entire State of the Union address. People glutton for punishment like me do, I guess. He buried it at the end. It was very measured, and I was happy to hear that because that means there's hope that diplomacy can take place over yet another regime change war that's going to end up bad for Americans.
The thing is, too, with that, with the pro wrestling aspect of it, it's like, okay, they cheer, you know, let's go Cena, and then you get the other Cena sucks, like yay, boo, yay, boo. So you get that, you get Trump ripping the Dems, obviously, and then he rips Omar specifically, and the fraud and the Somalians and that kind of stuff. And then she's yelling back, "You kill Americans!" And her face is, she's getting so angry. Usually, if you're innocent, to be honest, and this is all alleged, of course, but usually if you're innocent, you're very relaxed. You know you're innocent. You're like, yeah, okay. You just kind of rub it off. Usually when you're guilty, this is psychology, basic human psychology. Usually you're yelling, you're screaming, you're cursing. She kind of came off pretty bad, but she's not the only one. They were all yelling, screaming, maybe except for Fetterman, who was pretty calm, cool, calm, and collected, but the rest of them are pretty nuts.
Lots of screaming.
Yeah.
I cut the cable like many people. I don't have cable. I watched this on, there was a multiple YouTube streamings, ABC
Yes.
News, CBS News, Fox, all that. I happened to watch this, the CBS News one, for no particular reason. When Ilhan Omar stood up and was screaming that, John, you know, they went in on her, the cameras found her, and then they went on Trump for his reaction. It was like, you see my face, the camera went in like this.
Yeah.
Like a dramatic effect. I know that was
Yep.
probably just CBS News, but I laughed. I'm like, really? This is damn sure wrestling. Is, you know, Kevin Dunn going like, zoom in. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Camera.
get Finn Balor's emotion. Zoom in on his face. Like, I'm gonna
Right.
end your WrestleMania run. You know, and
It
zoom
was
in.
totally that. CBS News being a left-leaning, you know, establishment legacy media network, when they were showing the things that, you know, Trump was being sympathetic to the little girl who almost died after being killed by an illegal alien and stuff. Like, the cameras had a hard time finding those people, but they found Omar real quick and they zoomed in on Trump real quick. Yes. So I laughed at that, not at the pain the little girl suffered, but just CBS News is what I was laughing at, their coverage of it. It's wrestling.
What about them not standing for the hockey team, the U.S. gold winning hockey team?
Yeah.
Here? That was weird.
Oh, how is that partisan? The U.S. Olympic hockey team whooped ass and won for our country.
Yep.
You stand up for that. I don't care what party you're at. Like, come on. What are we talking about? And people were chanting USA and they had USA on their sweaters. Like, it all, that's what you do. But yeah, that's another example of just maybe poor judgment on the Democrats' part.
Are you upset with Cash Patel at all that he was celebrating with the team, even though he's friends with some of them? Were you upset about that? Is that controversial?
In the sense that not on its face, no. You know, public figures could have a good time and all that kind of stuff. That he has time to do that, but not one look at time to look at the Epstein files and to pursue that and to investigate that, as Thomas Massey has pointed out, contrasting it with him drinking beer with the Olympic team, as Rand Paul has pointed out. Yeah, I got a problem with that. You know, there's a bunch of women of a certain age who were kids when they were abused by grown men who were wealthy and powerful and thought they could hide it and are still hiding it. And Cash Patel's like, yeah, I think you should. I'm the head of the FBI. We'll just let these girls who were raped when they were underage just, we'll let these powerful guys get away with it. But I'm going to go party with the Olympic team. In that respect, I have a problem with it. Outside of the Epstein stuff, not really.
It is funny. People kind of pick and choose like what they're working on, what they're fooling around, or what they, you know, like, let's go to UFC. You know what I mean? Let's take the planes to UFC, whatever. Maybe investigate the island a little bit here. Like, what is that trap door that led to the ocean? Like, what is Giselle? If that is Ghislaine Maxwell, I mean, if that is her, did we really see her in Canada with her brother? Those two people look identical to them. Like, let's investigate these people. What's going on here?
Especially when Cash Patel and Dan Bongino and Vice President J.D. Vance, all in their podcast pundit eras, were like, how in the hell is this not being looked at? All of them screamed about it constantly. And now that they're in a position of power to do something about it, it's zip.
I feel like it's armchair quarterback. You know what I mean? Like Monday morning quarterback, if you will, too, that kind of thing.
Easy to say that when they had no skin in the game, but now that they do, they're shutting up. Thomas Massey does not give a damn. He's doing what he thinks was right and principled, and he's gotten more popular because people want integrity. That's what they want. They want somebody that's real. That's why Ron Paul blew up. That's why Bernie Sanders blew up. Even though I agree with a lot of what he did, people saw him as like, this guy's not like the rest of Washington. That's how people are seeing. A lot of people who voted for Trump and are MAGA are looking at Massey and looking at Trump and being like, there's one real guy here and there's another guy that's bending over, and that's the president. So
funny, I saw somebody called Ron Paul a prophet. They were saying, I don't know if that was Tucker or somebody, like, because he predicted a lot of stuff that was about to come true. Yeah,
almost everything he talked about in his 2008 and 2012 presidential campaigns. You could go back to the 90s stuff he talked about, the dollar and the economy, certainly the Iraq war, things like that. Our constant interventionism and blowback, which is a CIA term about how that might be revisited upon us. All that kind of stuff he talked about, and it's all pretty much played out like what he warned. So he is a prophet, not a biblical prophet, but in American politics in real life, yeah, he is. He's a hero of mine for sure.
Here's the crazy thing about like Epstein and Trump and stuff. They were talking about the J.P. Morgan Chase, the banks. So they closed Trump's bank accounts. So they checked and they'd never closed Epstein's. So Trump January 6th versus Epstein, which they had him in jail. They wouldn't close his bank accounts. Like, does that strike you as a little odd? And
It does.
like, they shouldn't JP Morgan and Chase be investigated? Like, that's crazy.
I would think so. If there was only a federal agency that was in charge of investigating things like this, I don't know who that would possibly be. And the figures that we just talked about.
I'd rather be drinking with the U.S. hockey team. I don't know about you. I'd rather be partying.
So yeah, of course they should look at that. Massey brought up he in addition to wanting all of the Epstein files and all of them unredacted, he wants to investigate why Jeffrey Epstein, who was convicted of sex crimes in 2008, got off so lightly and was in this country club prison. Like, who set that up? What was that all about? All of that needs to be investigated. And no matter how much this administration or the powers that be in this includes Democrats. They're not eager. You'll see the Democrats like, oh, release the Epstein files, which they did not say when Biden was president. A lot of them don't want this out there either because a lot of them are involved.
So interesting. Also, you were talking about wars and starting wars and stuff. Wrestling and politics kind of coming together again. I saw Jesse the Body Ventura talking on a podcast about how Congress, right, needs to approve all wars. What was this all about? What is Jesse? I know he's not a Trump fan. I know that.
Well, the Constitution says that, the commander in chief executes wars. The decision to go to war is made by Congress. You have to vote on a congressional declaration of war. We haven't actually done that in the way the Constitution demands since World War II. After Pearl Harbor, Congress had a vote. We're hitting them back. We went to war. And then the President of the United States executes the war as the commander in chief. Vietnam was a police action. Ask any Vietnam veteran if they thought that wasn't a real war.
Right.
Iraq, they went to Congress. Bush did the Patriot Act, but it wasn't an actual declaration of war. They did something. That's what you're supposed to do. And just because we haven't done it for, 3/4 of a century or whatever, doesn't mean that you still don't follow the Constitution. That's what Ventura was talking about. The proposal Jesse Ventura made, and I saw all my anti-war conservative libertarian friends retweeting Jesse Ventura's clip, is that any congressional member who votes to go to war should have a family member enlisted or they can't vote. I was like, that is a wonderful idea. Can we add this to the Constitution too, or however you want to do that? But yeah, because so many of these people who talk big don't have any skin in the game, have not served themselves, or don't have any people in their family, because they're rich people, a lot. Yeah. So go Jesse, the body, the mind, the governor, whatever. Yeah, he's right.
Just to close the loop on Trump, it was a record-breaking State of the Union. It was over 100 minutes, and he boasted of economic highs like record stock and low inflation, 0 illegal border crossing, and the foreign wins, including Maduro's capture. So let's kind of close the loop on Trump just as far as the State of the Union. But it's interesting to note that a lot of Democrats are very concerned about body types, and they were kind of making fun of Kid Rock and RFK's body type. So just want to throw that out there too. I thought that was kind of funny.
They were making fun of their body types. What do you mean? What they look like?
Yeah, they had their shirts off. They were flexing or whatever. They were making fun of them. Oh. Yeah. Well, RFK, to be honest, looks ripped. Kid Rock looks like he's a rocker that's been drinking a lot, obviously.
RFK's, he's stacked. Like
he's ripped. Yeah.
He works out and takes pride in that. Fan of Kid Rock, but his body ain't nothing to look at. But that's very Kid Rock to take your shirt off and look like Kid Rock. Like, it is what it is. It's fine.
Now, obviously, the mortal enemy, according to wrestling storylines, of Donald Trump is Vince McMahon. Did you happen to see his speeding video there in Connecticut?
You're talking about the Vince McMahon speeding?
Yes.
But that was a while back when he appeared at the courts. Is this something new?
But they just released a video. I think at somebody was asking me this, and I was trying to figure it out. I think at a certain point in time, they have body cams and they have cameras and stuff, and it has to be released to the public. Something along those lines. And I feel like the statute is up. That was back over the summer. Okay. Now we're months later. So I feel like it's finally out there now. And it gets released. I mean, it's not like it's hidden. It gets released out there.
That's a great policy in terms of transparency. That protects citizens. It also protects good cops from being portrayed as bad cops when they're good cops. So it works all. I've talked to good cops who are like, yes, this is not a bad thing. I didn't see that. I just remember when he got out of the car at the court and was signing autographs and taking pictures and, trying to be fan friendly, so to speak, in light of the allegations against him, which whatever. So.
I feel like the cop that pulled him over knew it was him. I mean, obviously he's probably looking at his plate, but he was speeding, crashed into the thing, crashes in. He's just speeding like crazy. He seems a little out of it. Possibly, I'm throwing this out there. Hogan had died that day, so maybe he got a little, because he's obviously was very upset about it. Maybe he got a little hammered. Like they never pursued that angle for the cops. They just kind of pulled him over, like, "Are you okay, sir?" Like they were like checking in on him, kind of.
Yeah.
With kid gloves. Maybe because he had a $300,000 Bentley, or maybe because he has a lot of power in Connecticut. Who knows?
I didn't realize that was the same day Hogan passed too.
Yeah.
So you could be right. He might have been like, I'm going to get a drink and think about this for a second. Or maybe not. We're just speculating. But,
yeah, I'm speculating. He could have been upset. Who knows? But yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think the speeding ticket is the least of McMahon's legal worries right now.
Yeah. Yes. Speaking of that, what do you think about Janelle Grant? She basically spoke on behalf of the case. Finally, after not speaking, because obviously this is still an ongoing court battle, what did you think about what Janelle had to say and her basically coming forward and speaking about, NDAs and violence against women and sexual deviance and things like that?
It was interesting to hear the voice of this person we've heard so much about. We know about the lawsuit. It's just been in the news for how long has it been? A year and a half? I don't even know.
At least longer than that now. Yeah.
So to hear her voice and hear her speak, and how problematic NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. I'd like to hear more about that. There's only so much she could say. It's interesting that John Laurinaitis is, on the side of Janelle Grant, her attorney, it looks like now, is being they're saying they're not going to prosecute him, whether he did something or not. That's for the due process. And I'm a big believer in due process and not saying people are guilty, because little old me has some thoughts about, I don't like that. I don't like lynch mobs, but we'll see what happens. It was interesting to hear from Janelle Grant. I don't know what to say. You'd say it's nice. I guess it was. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say beyond interesting.
Basically saying like the impact of an NDA and the psyche on her and how that really affected her, and basically ongoing issues with pro wrestling. And she thinks that they used that case as a storyline. Remember with the Judgment Day, and Dominic was showing his phone to his friends. I don't know if that necessarily correlates to me, because I think every guy does that, you know what I mean? Shows people. So I don't know, but she took that as a knock on her in the case. So she's saying there's ongoing concerns, not only with that, but the way they cover things up and NDAs and basically, abusing women, and so to speak, and wrestling.
I can't fathom the current leadership in WWE being like, "Hey, Dominic, come here. We're going to make fun of this lawsuit thing and this lady." Like, I just don't see that happening. It's a basic wrestling angle, but I also don't blame Janelle Grant for taking it that way, but based on what she said she's been through, if that makes sense. Yep. Both of those things are true. And I don't think Dominic was like, "Yeah, let's play with this lawsuit."
Right, because it's dangerous. Yeah. Yep.
Right. You do what you're told as a performer, but I would like to think that Triple H or whoever has a little bit more of a conversation about what's happening with his performers than maybe Vince McMahon did sometimes. Is that a fair thing to think? Maybe. Yep. I don't know. Yeah.
Yep. To me, it's interesting. Two people, right, can watch the same thing and come up with something completely different. And I'm listening to, like Wade Keller or Meltzer. They're talking about, the bravery of this woman. It takes real, guts to get out there and talk and stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, I was like, but why now? It seems like, I know there's an arbitration hearing or a hearing in June about possible arbitration. The judge is going to decide, and we haven't kind of delved into what that could be. Are they just, Vince, I know, is obviously just going for arbitration. He wants to pay her off and that'll be done with it. But I would kind of think, I'm like, why is she speaking now? Is something not going good for her lawyer in the case? Because why would you start speaking now when there's an arbitration possibly in June? You know what I mean? Like, it kind of almost leans to like, okay, let's get public sympathy. Let's try to get things back in our favor. Let's take over the story, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't taking it as her being brave. I was taking it as like the lawyer wanted her to speak for some reason.
I took it, and this is pure speculation. This is not a source or anything. When I saw that she was speaking out, as she was reminding people about this, and whether the lawyer prompted her to do that or she wanted to do her own, and the lawyer allowed it. And hopefully she's listening to her lawyer. That's the smart thing to do in these situations. That's how I took it. Because it has kind of drifted in the public mind a little bit, but it's still there. So, yeah, that's how I took it.
I just was like, man, I'm taking it completely different than the other people. First of all, and not like no knock on her, definitely different than I thought that she was. Like a bit older than I thought. Like the way it was perceived in the pictures that they were putting out there, I was like, oh, they were acting like it's like a young girl. Not really so much at all. She's my age. It's like, and I'm an old bastard. So, not to say, that I'm a young guy, but I'm saying like, or an old guy either, but I'm, kind of joking around. But I'm saying like, I was perceived by the way she was being projected by her lawyers to be like a young girl and stuff. She's not at all. She's an
She's in her
adult and she's 40,
right?
yeah, 45 or 43. Yeah.
So when this happened to her, she would have been in her late 30s.
Right.
Is the way I see it. And she was an attractive woman now and then. Also 30 or 35 years younger than Vince McMahon.
Right. Of course.
So there's 80, that. She's probably younger than Stephanie, his daughter. So there's that. So, yeah, I mean, to Vince McMahon, she was a young girl, if that makes sense. And
but it's just interesting, like the way that her camp has like been trying to perceive it, and then on the Vince side and stuff, he's trying to kind of bury things and push things off, and obviously he wants arbitration. Johnny Ace jumps to her side, maybe not a good sign for Vince, but they released out there Vince's side to kind of make it maybe a little bit more even or get his side of the story out there. The list of gifts that she received from Vince, and it is a huge list. So if you're receiving all these gifts, and he decides to break it off, which is his case basically, not that doesn't look good either. Like a what is it, $80,000 BMW, whatever it was. It was like, whoa, like, and you accepted it, like, whoa, my goodness, like, so it doesn't look good from either side, to be honest.
It doesn't. And I mean, Vince McMahon has so much money, and I don't know, man. I was in a situation in my personal life where somebody I was intimately involved with was accusing me of doing things that just never happened. And people could be like, oh, I believe that person. But it just was fictional. But I believe in due process, and the system is not perfect, but we need a system. We have a system. There's two sides to every story, and may justice be done. I know that's a lame vanilla answer, but there's so many. At the height of Me Too, who was that Indian actor that went on? It basically amounted to a bad date, and a woman wrote an op-ed in the New York Times basically saying he was another Me Too guy like Harvey Weinstein. But if you read it and you paid attention, they just went on a date that went badly. Like there was no assault, there's nothing like that. But she wanted to be part of this Me Too narrative, and people jumped on the actor originally, and then they were like, actually, he didn't really do anything. He just like said the wrong thing, or it was just a bad date. It wasn't criminal.
Yep.
So I don't want to get in that territory. And the worst, most dastardly things that Janelle Grant is accusing Vince McMahon of might have actually happened. I hope they didn't, but they might have, and justice should be done. But we don't know. We're not there. We're not legal people.
Right. Yes. So I'm not on either side, but I'm just saying it doesn't look good on her side. It doesn't look good on his side. It kind of looks like they're both shady individuals, to be honest. You know what I mean? Just as far as what I'm hearing from either side, I'm like, man, it doesn't sound good for either of them. She's accepting stuff. He's giving stuff. The NDAs are always kind of murky because then it's like, wait, what are you signing NDAs for? That doesn't sound good. So yeah, that's always crazy.
Accepting that, weren't her parents sick or passed away, and he helped with the medical and. Wasn't
that's supposedly the dad? I think, yeah, that was out there too.
So but if that's
the financial, she might have been engaged at the time. So like that's weird.
Right?
Like, what the hell? Yeah, a lot of weird stuff.
Financial position you're in, and somebody's giving you stuff that you might like. I'm not going to jump on her either. Like,
right? Yeah.
Is she admitting guilt by accepting this, or did she need the money, or some combination of the two? So I don't want to castigate her in a bad light either. So necessarily.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, man, it just doesn't sound good from either side. It's like when, I don't know if you're a big Seinfeld fan, but when George couldn't see and he's spotting dimes from across the room, but then he's eating an onion, it's like, I don't know who to believe here. He's spotting dimes, he's eating onions. Like, is the guy blind or not? So I don't know what side to believe here.
Right. And I'll be interested as a wrestling fan, just a human being who hopes, terrible things weren't done to another person, to see how this plays out. And if it goes to court, I don't think it will, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the arbitration hearing technically could be in June, but I guess this is like if the judge thinks it's arbitration or if it's going to go to discovery, we'll find out in June, I guess. So this thing continues on and on and on and on. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the court case I'm most concerned about, I don't know how many people watch AAA week that Vikingo went to the hospital of mini Vikingo and turned over his hospital bed, leaving
Oh, that
him
was great.
So that lawsuit is something I'm also looking forward to. I think Vikingo's guilty by the footage I saw of assault.
That was freaking.
I loved it.
That was great. That's one of those things where people want the WWE, AEW, they want to, AAA and WWE, the relationship as far as like, oh, what could WWE help them with? Production value, man. Like that was through the roof. That was great production.
I've mentioned this here before. I've ordered some of the Triple Manias in the past because like Kenny Omega was on it or the Young Bucks or something, and good show or whatever. But the production was always,
not as good. Yep.
And that show's great production wise, and it's not the top of my wrestling, food chain, but it's something I look forward to every Saturday, and they never disappoint. It's a fun show. It's about 45 minutes if you watch.
Yeah,
it on
it's so
YouTube.
quick and easy to get through.
Yeah, Corey Graves is great. Rey Mysterio as the translator is great. JBL of all people calling Mexican wrestling is funny as hell to me. So what a great show. I didn't mean to throw in AAA in the middle of our conversation about something else.
But hey, great production value. Absolutely love it.
It's a fun show. And I can't speak as an American who didn't follow AAA every week like the people who pack the, I know they're not at the arena, but the AAA fans who followed it every week in Mexico. But I like it as a gringo American dude. I think it's great. And what I can see of the fans there, they seem to like it too. And it tickles me to no end. Corey Graves just mentioned this on Raw the other night that El Grande Americano, the real one, is a national treasure in Mexico and a heel in America. And OG El Grande Americano, whoever that is, he's an imposter, obviously, is a baby face in the United States and a heel in Mexico. That I love that so much. That encapsulates so much what I like about professional wrestling.
And that's another thing too. You don't know what the fans are going to cheer. You know what I mean? Necessarily the Mexican fans. It's like, wow, you would figure it might be reversed, or they might hate them both, but they don't. They love the other El Grande Americano. So yeah, it's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, that's great. It's one of my favorite things in all of wrestling right now.
So when you're looking at WWE and we're talking about great production, man, Monday Night Raw, AJ Styles tribute. AJ Styles is definitely retiring. He left the gloves in the ring. He's definitely done. Even though AEW apparently offered him a substantial offer, he didn't care about it. He doesn't care about the money. He is done. He wants to retire. So I want to say the tribute video was awesome. The way it was done was awesome. I liked all the way through. The whole night was great. I love the Hire video by Creed. That was awesome. Mm-hmm. Typical great work by WWE. Sure. What did you think about the retirement of AJ Styles and the subsequent addition to the Hall of Fame this year?
I think it's awesome. He did not know he was going to the Hall of Fame when Taker came out. I loved at the end, you saw the executive producers or Paul Levesque and Lee Fitting and, they do all that. And you got 6 or 7 minutes left in the show, but you didn't know that. Here he comes. If you're watching it live, which I was, and AJ being surprised by that. He chose his words carefully. I know he's going to the Hall of Fame. That'll be at WrestleMania, which is coming up pretty soon. I heard they offered him another contract and he just didn't take it. And he's not under Bully Ray pointed this out and busted open. He's not under any Legends deal. I assume that might have been offered. What is that? If you're a WWE lifer at this point, he's been there for 10 years. Why wouldn't you accept something? If they want to keep you there, what is that? Is he going to do something in AEW or New Japan or do something with TNA, which would work because of the relationship with WWE? I don't know. He said his retirement, I'm a man of my word, and he put down his gloves in a WWE ring. Maybe I'm speculating and this is wishful thinking and he's just done. Wow. I don't want to hear it, but I'm not the only person that speculated about this, and I'm not talking about just some dork on the internet Twitter followers. I'm talking about people of note have wondered the same.
You sound like my friend. You're like, you really don't want him to retire. So like, no, he's leaving the door open. He's going to return. He's going to wrestle somewhere. Yeah.
If this is it, I respect it because I think he was asked, you can still put on classics. He's like, the fact that I can put on classics is exactly why I'm retiring. You don't want to retire when you're starting to suck or get old, can't do it anymore. He's always said that. And this is it. I respect that. I enjoyed his entire run in ring. We're going to see him around doing stuff in wrestling, just not in ring. I respect that. But if you said 2026 is your last year, we're not even halfway through the year. And look, if Cena retired from WWE and went to AEW and New Japan, that makes zero sense. His entire career was in WWE.
Yeah. Yep.
AJ was in every big company. Wasn't he in WCW for a cup of coffee? Like, am I wrong about that?
Yeah, he was. Yep.
People didn't know he was then, but like the point is, he could do AEW and it would make sense. He could do New Japan, it makes sense. TNA would make the most sense of all because they're basically in league with WWE. And maybe he doesn't, but we'll see what happens. If he popped up somewhere, I would not be shocked.
He was AJ Styles in WCW, but then he was Air Styles, and he teamed up with Air Paris. They were Air Raid, and they were part of the WCW Cruiserweight Tag Team division and the tournament as well.
So obviously he's not going to go wrestle in WCW again, but there's another big company out there, and maybe he does nothing at all. And I don't think he wants to piss off WWE. Let me say this: if he did any of this, I think it's like, hey, Paul Levesque, I'm going to do this. This is not anti-WWE. It's just something I want to do. And they have a conversation about it. It is what it is. Kind of like Adam Copeland going to AEW. I don't think Triple H walks around seething that Adam Copeland is in AEW, if you catch my drift.
Yes.
That kind of deal. He's not looking to piss off WWE, who's done nothing but treat him great. Yep. 2-time world champion, the whole deal. So I don't know what that looks like. I'm not him. I'm not Triple H, but we'll see.
When you're looking at AJ and this thing, I thought that was awesome with the Undertaker at the end and the Hall of Fame. He apparently didn't see it coming. Even afterwards, there was a video of him talking to Undertaker backstage, and he's like, "What the hell was that about? Like, you don't give me the heads up, whatever." He's like, I owe you one now. And Undertaker's like, no, you got me back at the Boneyard match. We're all good.
Well, when Undertaker said we have unfinished business, I was like, what? They could have a match. This probably isn't a good idea. AJ's carrying this match at this point.
Yeah.
That happens, but that's not what it was.
For a second there, I was like, well, they do need a big match for Mania. You know what I mean? For night one. For a second there, I was like, ooh, okay, good.
I had the same thought for a second because, like, look, Taker and the way he wrestled, he wouldn't, be jumping through the ropes or anything. But hell, I don't know. He was doing it far past the age I thought he'd been doing that kind of stuff. And AJ can still go if they needed that. Yeah, my mind went there for a second, but obviously that's not what was happening.
Good thing is they ended it on a happy note because with the retirement could be sad, whatever. So then they have behind, obviously after the show, not really behind the scenes, but in front of everybody, but behind, get all the TNA guys out there. You get Doc and Gallows. Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson out there. You get a bunch of surprise guys and visits and stuff. So they made everything very happy. And obviously the Hall of Fame thing leaves the crowd watching on TV a happy note of him being retired, but he gets in the Hall of Fame.
For sure. And I really like that, AJ is eternally the face of TNA, whether he's there or not. He's just the guy you think of, the wrestler you think of, him or Jeff Jarrett. I like that WWE has the relationship with TNA where you could spotlight Jeremy Borash, who works for WWE now, and get Chris Parks to dress up in the Abyss gimmick and do that. Frankie Kazarian walking around, Rudy Charles, all that stuff. That was so cool for those of us who watched TNA during that time when AJ was there and have very fond memories of that. That
was cool. Now, as far as AJ, it looks like apparently retired. There is a rumor out there that AEW did make a substantial offer. He's aware of the offer, but I guess he's technically under some sort of WWE deal at least until WrestleMania because he's going to the Hall of Fame. So there's got to be either a licensing deal or some sort of quick, maybe 2-month deal with him in WWE.
Yeah. And that makes sense. And like, I wouldn't expect him to, if he was going to do anything, which he might not, I wouldn't expect it to be until after Mania. Did you catch his comments? He said in a recent interview where Mania isn't what it used to be.
No. Wow. Really?
He said something. They were talking. It was within the context of talking about him retiring in Saudi Arabia. And his thing was, 2016, I debuted at the Royal Rumble. So I retired at the Royal Rumble.
Right.
Which makes sense. Story
poetic. He said poetic. Yeah.
Yeah. But within that conversation, he said WrestleMania doesn't have, the luster it used to have. Or something like, I'm paraphrasing. He's like, It's still a big show, but he diminished it a little bit. I was kind of taken aback by that. And I don't think he was trying to insult the company. I think he was trying to say why Royal Rumble was just as good to retire at as WrestleMania. But that is how he said it. And a lot of people took notice.
I didn't see that. Interesting. I just heard him say very poetic that it's Royal Rumble to Royal Rumble exactly 10 years.
Yeah. I'm paraphrasing. He said Mania is not what it used to be. And not so many words.
It's interesting that they did that tribute, right? And they put him in the Hall of Fame because, God, he deserves it. And God, he deserves all the respect in the world. One of the all-time greats, easily. I mean, he kept my interest in wrestling, whether it's TNA, ROH, New Japan, whatever it was. WWE, even when they were dead outside of him at that point, they were, to be honest, kind of shitty for a while outside of AJ coming in.
Yeah.
So he kind of put things together, but in a weird way, I was like, wow, they didn't give him like a good tribute. This is before Monday Night Raw. I was like, man, it's almost like he's not their guy. They're just gonna like disrespect him and let him go off into the the sun, like the sunset. I was like, what the hell? And then they did this. I'm like, okay, you totally redeemed yourself. So
and the whole night was dedicated to him. Is in Atlanta, which 45 minutes from his hometown. Is he from Macon
or Gainesville?
Gainesville. So NWA Wild Side and all that. He mentioned that prior, or maybe Corey Graves mentioned that or somebody. I don't know.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
Yeah, which was cool because I do remember that, and I'm in South Carolina, so right next door. But yeah, what a great night for AJ, and I'm curious to see what's next. People are talking about who's going to induct him, and I saw people speculate the company wants John Cena, which would be awesome. It's a way of having Cena on the show, but he's not the headliner Hall of Fame inductee. So I think that would be smart and kind of the first time. Well, I guess he's done interviews with Stephanie and whatnot. But, that'd be a good one. My mind goes to I'd love for it to be Christopher Daniels or Samoa Joe or Jeff Jarrett or somebody like that, but that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it's probably going to be like Cena or Punk, maybe something like
Punk
that.
Would be good. Somebody that makes sense. It just can't be like Jerry the King Lawler inducted William Shatner into the celebrity ring. I like both those guys, but really doesn't make much sense.
Yes. What if it's Taker?
Taker could, that makes sense. That was Taker's last match. That would make sense. It just has to make sense in some kind of way,
Yes. So obviously, AJ is retiring, but at least we get one last glimpse of him at the Hall of Fame as far as WWE is concerned. Elimination Chamber will be building up, and we'll see what leads to WrestleMania. Were you shocked at all about some of the matches, just as far as who's in it? Like Kiana James won. I love her, but I was shocked that she won. I thought Charlotte easily would win that. Raquel won and not Io, so that's like a couple. And obviously Jey Uso had to win because Bronson Reed got hurt, and like LA Knight is in. There's a couple of surprises that I was
like
thinking.
That. I like that. I think they're trying to be unpredictable. And that's good. Obviously, Bronson Reed got hurt. He was supposed to win that Elimination Chamber qualifying match, and Jey Uso went over. And that sucks that Bronson's going to be out for a long time. He tore a muscle. I like Kiana James for a month or two now. I can't remember what match she had, but I was like, man, she kicks ass. She's just not like the sidekick to Julia. I mean, she is, but like she can go. So I'm a fan of hers. I thought that was cool. Expect her to win. I think Cody wins the men's Elimination Chamber. Am I wrong to say that? It's him and Drew at Mania.
It's weird because they've been trying to like be unpredictable with it. So it's like, are they going to swerve us again? The swerve, bro? You know what I mean? Like, and not. No, Gunther isn't in it. But I wonder if Gunther has a problem with AJ or with Cody now that he interrupted him with the AJ stuff. So
maybe do they pull the trigger on LA Knight, and coupled with that, would LA Knight and Drew be a main event at a WrestleMania? I don't know that it would. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if you're pulling the trigger, you say it is, and you do that. I don't know.
If Cody's involved, it's automatic main event. If it's LA Knight, that might have to be like the first match of the night kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, start off.
I think so too. And something else is the main event, but he's in the world title picture or something. I don't know. I don't know. I like when I could say about professional wrestling, I don't know. That's when I want to watch it the most. So
Lesnar's out there dangled. You know what I mean? Like,
Lesnar and Drew. Is Obafemi in Elimination Chamber?
No. Trick Williams, Javon Evans are in it though.
Okay.
And Jey Uso and LA Knight and Cody.
Trick's a one. That's a top guy.
Orton could win it.
Orton, see, and I think you and I would both agree that at some point Trick Williams is going to be world champion.
I saw him on a talk show, and I was like, man, I thought this guy was a good talker. He's better than I thought he was. He's just like, he's like stunning these two women that are like the hosts. Like they like are like, wait, you're the anointed one. What do you mean? Like he's just hitting them with one-liners, and then he goes, because of my lemon pepper steppers or whatever, and they're like lemon pepper step, like they're like like getting sucked into everything you say. They're like astonished, like man, this guy's a smooth talker. You know what I mean? Like he had them wrapped around his finger.
He can talk like nobody's business. You just describe. He can go in the ring, though. He probably still learn more, and he looks like $1 million. He's a good-looking dude. He's big.
You know, he reminds me of.
Who's that?
The Rock in '97 when he started to be
Yeah.
with the Nation. You're like, you start to like, wait a second, this guy is like, he's like the best talker on the show. Like
Right.
that's like Trick right. I was like, man, this guy's a good talker.
And I've loved Carmelo Hayes, United States champion, open challenges. I think it's great, but he's eclipsed him. He used to be the sidekick to Carmelo Hayes in NXT, and he's eclipsed him. And that's not a knock on Carmelo Hayes, who I'm a huge fan of. It just is what
I
it
could
is.
see Trick beating Mello at Mania for the U.S. title.
I could see that too. That would be a good thing to do on the way to being one of the top guys who's in that mix. He has it all. They have to see it.
And then just saying no more open challenges. He's a heel. Like, there's no more open challenges. I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the heel that wins that, no, none of that. You barely defend it. So.
All right. Before we wrap it up, couple quick hitters for you here.
Okay.
What's in the box? Who's in the box?
It's Jericho or maybe like Danhausen.
Wow, I heard that because that's Punk's boy, Danhausen.
It's that, and everybody won't know him, but enough people know him that you could do that, if that makes sense. Like some people be like, who's this weirdo in the box? Other people are like, oh my God, it's Danhausen. There's enough of that they could do that. But Jericho, everybody would know, and that's the most Jericho thing in the world to come out of a box. So we'll see. I like that they keep shipping it back and forth and whatever they're doing with it.
The One Awards, the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer obviously does get some heat for this, even though I don't know if he necessarily should, because he's not voting. It's his fans are voting for it. Do you agree? CMLL is the promotion of the year, yes or no?
Well, they gave Mystico Wrestler of the Year?
Yes.
If you sell out Arena Mexico every single time, how was it, every other week or something like that?
And that's not a small arena, by the way. It's like 16,000 people.
Right. If you sell it out over and over and over and over, that's my understanding of it. Tell me if I'm wrong. And the guy that's
over 1 million tickets. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what would any bucker of any era in any country, what would their metric be? It would be how many tickets you sold, how much money you made, right?
Yes. Here's the funny thing. People were complaining that they sell out so much because of the ticket prices. It ranges between $40 and $100. And obviously, if you get closer to the ring, it's more than that. But basically, I'm like, so between $40 and $100, and it's Mexico. That's U.S. to Mexico. So, obviously, they're not as affluent here as they are in the States, where we can pay $200 for nosebleeds at Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So I'm like, that kind of doesn't really equate to me. I feel like that's still great because you're still selling it out. And those ticket prices actually seem kind of right where they should be. That's kind of in line with ticket prices should be. That's fair.
That seems like what the market demands, which is what people are willing to pay.
Yeah.
And I'm a free market guy. I believe in economic competition. Just because TKO decided to charge $1 gazillion for all tickets, that doesn't change the fact the way they've always done business in Mexico and who's doing great.
Yeah.
Or in the wrestling business globally. You know, like, come on, that's just silly. And TKO's having trouble selling tickets. That's why they're doing blackouts in Chicago area bars before Elimination Chamber, in Las Vegas before Mania, as far as being able to watch it at Dave & Buster's or whatever. So that's all part of the discussion. CMLL's kicking ass. Conan, who's more associated with AAA and WWE, said, well, they have the AEW relationship, but they were selling out before they did anything with AEW.
Yeah.
So the reason they have the AEW relationship is because the other big company has a relationship with their competitor.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But
to be honest, the AEW guys aren't necessarily helping them sell the houses. It's Mystico, to be honest.
It's Mystico. And I mean, to the degree that I wish CMLL's regular show was presented like AAA WWE version is. You can find it, but it's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I know when I get done watching Collision on Saturday night, I'm going to go to YouTube, and the first thing that pops up is here's the premiere of AAA Mexico, and I'm going to find it watching YouTube. And CMLL's not like that.
Thing is, that's so funny. Remember a couple of years ago, they only had 1,000. This is AEW, had 1,000 tickets sold, and they were at a venue very close to Mexico, and it was in Texas. All of a sudden, they announced Mystico for the show, and they sold out the show as 4,000 tickets. And people were like, well, I don't know if I would equate the one thing with the other. You have to. It's common sense. It's like you announced the guy, then they sold the tickets. It's Mystico. It's like CMLL. AEW wasn't a part of it, selling out. AEW is a part of it, selling out. AEW's not on the show. Mystico. Who's the common thread? Mystico. Like, it's obvious. Come on, guys.
That's non-Hispanic American fans not understanding the popularity of Mystico. It's just being ignorant about it because he's over. He has been for a long time. It's the reason they hired him in WWE to make him Sin Cara, and then he wasn't the big star that he was in Mexico. It just is what it is.
One final thing. little here or there, or let's say one or the other. You picking Tucker or Mike Huckabee? Who won that Tucker Carlson
Tucker
Mike Huckabee
Carlson,
interview?
he embarrassed Mike Huckabee. That is an awful. I know we're trying to end the show, but boy, what a question to ask me. Mike,
But people were saying, "Oh, Huckabee, great interview." Like, what? He did horrible. Yeah.
he did absolutely horrible. He didn't answer any of the questions straightforward. He basically said, with Tucker's like, 70% of Americans in all polling don't want this war, that Huckabee basically said their opinion doesn't matter. I'm not going to get too deep into this. He exposed Christian Zionism in a way that it needs to be exposed because it's awful. It dictates American foreign policy. It has for decades. It's the evangelical belief that's very popular in the southeastern United States, where I live and was born and raised, that the current 1948 established government of Israel is what they're talking about in the Old Testament that was promised to Abram. It's not. There was a new covenant. His name was Jesus Christ, and anybody that follows him is part of that new covenant. That's what Christianity is. But these evangelical sects, of which Mike Huckabee belongs to, they're Christian Zionists. It makes them Israel firsters. They don't care if innocent children are killed in a genocide in Palestine. The 10 Commandments goes out the window. Thou shalt not kill. They're not worried about that because they have this ideology that the Old Testament endorses whatever the current government of Israel does. That makes zero sense theologically. The faith I belong to outright rejects it. I'm Catholic. You might have seen Carrie Prejean Bowler get into it, get kicked off a Religious Liberty Commission for saying some of this stuff, who's also Catholic. It's a heretical view theologically. It is a damaging view politically in how it manifests itself in our foreign policy. Tucker knows that it's BS. He called Mike Huckabee out on this BS. Mike Huckabee looked like an idiot and wrong and immoral and unchristian, I dare say, blasphemous in so many ways. Tucker Carlson's interview with Mike Huckabee was heroic on many levels, and I'll stop there because I could talk about this for 3 more hours.
I just thought you'd say Tucker definitely won, but no, a little heated there. I love it. But
absolutely, he won. I'm one of the best interviews he's ever done for all the right reasons.
Gotta love some Tucker. But let's wrap up this bad boy. Let's head towards the plugs. You follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2ManPowerTrip. How about you, Jack?
You can find me on X at JackHunter74 for all sorts of nonsense, wrestling and otherwise.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you, everybody out there, for listening. We'll see you right back here next week full of Capital and Kayfabe.